Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stock Durbar with Team William O'Neill India. Yeah, Rucha, are we ready to start?
Yes, we can start now.
Okay, perfect. Yes, good evening, guys. Good evening, everyone. So, as always, we'll start with some basic Nifty and the other sector charts and some bit of macro discussions. But overall, if you think a lot of things are behind us, I think last time when we met in the Stock Durbar, there was a lot of uncertainty related to what will happen in budget, something that will come that will disturb the market, yes or no. Those questions were there. Then US Fed, which a very important meeting was there at the 1st of the February. Also the RBI MPC outcome. So a lot of events were lined up when we met last time, and there were huge uncertainty. The market was also choppy. But I think now all these events are done. There's nothing negative as far as the budget is concerned, though there are some 3-4 negative pointers which we discussed. Mayuresh has discussed in our meeting with the on the YouTube available as well, also on our report, yeah, that you can see on the website. But overall, broadly, it was a growth-led, capex-led budget. So the government had planned for that Amrit Kal, 25 years. So last year only the tone was set कि हाँ भाई अभी infrastructure वाला tone जो set किया था वहाँ पे spending करेंगे, गवर्नमेंट की साइड से स्पेंडिंग होगी, प्राइवेट को पुश करेंगे स्पेंडिंग को, तो वही किया है इस बजट में भी. यूएस फेड का भी एक्सपेक्टेड था 25 बिप्स and that is what that was the outcome. Some comments positive, some negative, some flat. That was the scenario, and I think broadly the global market in January as well as the first half of the February have done reasonably well. Not only the Indian market but also the global market. US especially did really well. There was some fall in Indian market just before the budget, some huge volatility on the budget day. But yeah, it's over now. But last point about the RBI that was out yesterday, the hike of 25 bips was in line with expectations. And now the things will be data driven. So looking forward, a lot of important data need to be watch out for. जैसे कि US का CPI data next week आएगा, क्योंकि अभी सारे गवर्नर्स, एक कनाडा में एक पॉज कर दिया उन्होंने रेट हाइक, बाकी सारी जगह भी अभी सोच रहे हैं कि रेट हाइक या तो छोटा करे बहुत ही या तो पॉज करे. ऐसी सिचुएशन में डेटा विल बी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, दैट हाउ द इन्फ्लेशन नंबर्स आर कमिंग, आर देयर नो एनी एक्सपेक्टेशंस कि अभी हाँ यहाँ से इन्फ्लेशन बढ़ने का कोई ऐसा सिनारियो डेवलप नहीं हो रहा है ना, कोई रशिया यूक्रेन में हो गया या फिर क्रूड में हो गया या कहीं और भी जगह. इफ those things does not happen, then you can say that okay, the chances of the further rate hikes of higher quantums are lower, or even there can be some pause as far as the rate hikes are concerned, and that will be positive for the markets. If you look at the technicals, so this big candle, the pink one that I'm annotating, is the budget day candle, guys. So काफी volatile रहा budget के दिन, Adani issues and all lot of things were there. But technically अगर देखें ना तो 21 DA में reclaim नहीं कर पाया market. वहां से 21 DA में the green line है, वहां से आके पूरा reversal मार दिया. And then from the next day it tried to establish the bottom. ठीक है, फिर जो बजट का दूसरा दिन था थर्सडे यहाँ पे, so that was the day 1 of a rally attempt because the low was not breached. The Friday was day 2, and yes, this Monday was day 3 when this budget day low was not breached. So if 3 days correction low is not breached, we change the market status to RA, right? That is the rally attempt. And yes, guys, now we are looking for a follow through day. Okay, and once the follow through day takes place, the focus will be on the quality stocks to add to the portfolio. Now, a couple of more things as far as the Nifty setup is concerned. See, firstly, yesterday, the closing was just below its 21 DA, or you can say at 21 DA. Today, the closing is just above that level. Not convincingly above that level, but हाँ, वहाँ से थोड़ा ऊपर आ गया है 21 DA से closing. The 100 EMA level भी यहीं पे है, and 10 वीक मूविंग एवरेज अगर आप वीकली चार्ट पे देखें, लेट मी टेक यू देयर. If you can see the weekly chart, yes, so 10 week moving average is 987, 17,987, and अगर 50 DMA का लेवल देखे तो 18,122. So now next जो 100 point है for Nifty, the next 100 point is very crucial. Lot of moving averages are in that zone. अगर आप 900 to 18,100 के बीच में देखें तो वो 200 पॉइंट में काफी सारी मूविंग एवरेजेस हैं. And once we are done with those moving averages, see, first most important thing is follow through. ठीक है, 1.5% gain on a volume higher than previous session. The second thing, sometimes you get a follow through day a bit little late, but I think a lot of stocks, if you look at the broader market, the strength is good. In specifically in some sectors, if you look at the infra related themes, you look at the numbers yesterday that Cummins reported, the numbers of Siemens were good. Look at the setup of Cummins, Siemens, and a lot of other stocks as well. These two are just example. And yes, whatever we discuss is not an investment advice. It's just, a knowledge sharing and for the example purpose. So please keep that disclaimer in mind as always. So what I was talking is a lot of stocks are setting up well. I think there is a huge list that is there, and we'll soon be out with that list. So reason why I'm telling that is once we are above the 10-week moving average, अगर यहाँ पे हम ये रेड लाइन के ऊपर आ जाते हैं, the importance is अगर यहाँ पे देखिए पिछले 2 महीने से है ना पूरा ये रिक्लेम नहीं कर पाए. 10-week मूविंग एवरेजेस पे रेजिस्टेंस लेके निफ्टी नीचे गया, ठीक है. लेकिन अभी अगर ये 10-week मूविंग एवरेजेस रिक्लेम कर लेता है ऑन द वीकली फ्रंट एंड ऑल्सो ऑन द डेली चार्ट, अगर 2150 डीए में रिक्लेम हो जाती है यहाँ पे, सो ये एक जोन जब निकल जाएगा ना 18 to 18,100 का, then we will turn on the buy switch. Specifically we are looking for 10-week moving average. उसके ऊपर buy switch can be turned on, and the quality stocks that have not been hammered during the correction, that are holding well. सेक्टर में एक थीम है वहां पे, the growth drivers are there, earnings beat कर रहे हैं, relative strength line at new high, ऐसे stocks है we might consider to add, and we turn on the buy switch. However, will be more aggressive whenever the follow through day comes. But in case sometimes it happens that follow through day might come late, so just to take a bit early entry on some specific stocks. I'm not telling we'll go huge into aggressively into the market, but जो selective quality stocks है जिनका setup सही है वहां पे we'll try to focus on those stocks and turn on the buy switch. So yes, this was Nifty setup. So important level अभी जो 21 DA में 873 to reclaim 10 weekly moving average that I discussed, 18,000 broadly मान लो, and 18,120 that is 50 DA में. Yeah, on the flip side, अभी जो ये 353 वाला लो है निफ्टी का 17353, that becomes important to hold. अगर वो ब्रीच कर देता है then 200 DMA लेवल, एंड वहां से हम करेक्शन में चले जाएंगे. अगर 353 ब्रीच हुआ तो वहां से फिर से करेक्शन होगा. एंड ऑल्सो वन मोर थिंग जो मैं डिस्कस कर रहा था, ये 18100 लेवल, अगर यहाँ से आप हाई से ट्रेंड लाइन भी खींचे, ठीक है, दोज हु आर कीपिंग ट्रेंड लाइन, तो वो भी somewhere around that level, that is also coming somewhere around 18,000 18,025 level. So all the trend lines, all the key moving averages, everything is gathered over there. So थोड़ा वहां पे एक चॉपी हो सकता है, थोड़ा फाइट हो सकता है, बुल वर्सेस बेयर वाला सिनेरियो हो सकता है. But in case the bull wins, we don't want to predict who will win, but in case the bull wins, then we are ready with our list. We will turn on the buy switch and look for the follow through day. So let's take a few sectors and then we will start on the stocks front. So if we look at the banks, a very volatile action was there here also. 21 EMA, 41,700, that is important. So once we are above the 21 EMA, here also the move can be towards the 50-day moving average. So overall, the results of a lot of banks have been decent. If you look at the top tier banks, HDFC, ICICI, they have reported a very good set of numbers. Even the SBI, Bank of Baroda, Union Bank, जो भी PSU banks है वहाँ पे भी एक decent set of numbers बाहर आए थे. Asset quality has improved, the NIM has improved, right? The overall deposits and advances have shown positive upticks. So no major negative from that part as far as the banking is concerned. So let's see if technically the index improves and the stock improves, there can be it can support Nifty and a good rally can be there. On the flip side, if it has already reclaimed its 10 moving average, and if it falls below that level, और अगर यहाँ पे न्यू करेक्शन लो आ जाता है, अगर 40,000 ब्रीच हो जाता है, 39 300-400 वाला level breach होता है, then that will be very negative for the market as well as the bank Nifty, and then again we will look for a potential bottom formation. If you look at the auto numbers have been decent in the last few months. The demand has been good. Even yesterday also in RBI governor's statement, he put the specific remark over here that the auto demand was quite decent in the last couple of months. Even the other macro factors are having some green shots, and yes, overall economy is doing well as far as the governor's statement is concerned. But yes, specifically in auto, the December sales, the January sales have been good, and it might continue. Still, some rural demand is not improving. So yes, the urban demand is well as far as the personal vehicles are concerned, but some demand needs to be improved as far as the two-wheeler is there. But yeah, overall, the scenario is good, and there's no major tailwind as the new thing that is coming up. So especially the rural demand में uptick नहीं हो रहा है. So I think the market it is consolidating. फिर यहाँ पे पूरा देखे तो auto index एक consolidation phase में चला गया, and let it break up to the all-time high with some leading stocks. If you see Maruti, M&M is also I think moving flat. Tata Motor is trying to move near its key moving averages. Even the TVS and the other, also the auto ancillaries. I think auto ancillaries may be a decent performance raha hai. So let's wait for some technical breakout. I think once Nifty is through the 50-10 week moving average, 50 DMA, there might be some positive momentum over here. क्योंकि ये जो sector है ना, वो इतना गिरा नहीं. It has been holding even in the tough time of the market. And these kind of leaders, when they hold in the tough time of the market, they tend to outperform when the market turns higher. So this can be watched. Now, if you look at the FMCG, okay. So over here also, the index is trading near its all-time high, and there was some, higher volatility during the budget day, especially for some 15-20 minutes in ITC, and that was the reason you see this February when the budget day, even the FMCG was very volatile, and yes, after that it has been holding well. So the cut in the income tax in the new regime, right, will bring some of the demand, improve the demand, and that is always positive for ITC. And also जो government का plan है कि rural demand को improve करना, एक जो farmer की income improve होना, वहाँ पे upliftment करना farmer का, that all will indirectly create a good demand. जो spending power है वो बढ़ेगा, per capita income will increase over the time, the spending will improve, and at the end of the day, the FMCG companies do get a good benefit out of that. So if you look at Nifty Metals, there was some problem with the results in the Tata Steel. So the result was not up to the mark, and even a few other results were not at the best. And there was a sharp sell-off in the metal as well. So some global price change and a lot of factors have impacted the metal stock prices. And the index first breached its 50 DMA, and then there was a sharp fall, and it had also breached the 200 DML level as well. But now it has reclaimed the 200 DMA level. So last time also the same thing happened. यहाँ पे 200 DMA का level लेने के बाद there was a strong rally in the overall metal index. So let's see what happens over here. I think stock specific setup is more important over here whenever the index is trying to bottom out. Okay, so I think now we can start with your questions. So in the group, we have my colleague Vakar and our head of research, Mayuresh Joshi. Both have joined the meeting, and we three will try to answer as many queries as possible. So, and one request, please do not post the same query multiple times because it creates a lot of junk in the chat box. So try to put it only once. We will answer as many as possible. हम पूरा scroll करके देख लेंगे जितना भी possible होगा. We will address the query. And if we fail to address some of the queries, maybe due to time, then you can always email us the queries. So let's start with that. So Rishit is telling, can you add stocks in the buy watch list? Yes, Rishit, from today or I think tomorrow, once we are waiting for that 10 EMA reclaim. So once we are done, we will do that.
Rishit, but the subscribers do get our mailers. So in the mailers, we have added the buy watch list.
Okay, we have from today we have already added, right? Or yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have already started adding the watch list, and that will be in the premium section, guys.
Yeah, that will be in the premium section. And
Yes.
what Rushit was saying that once probably the 10 week WMA gets reclaimed, probably the buy switch can get turned on post that. So you can see some kind of additions happening post that.
Okay, so the query is on Action Construction. Excellent numbers. I think the result was out a couple of days back, and on that day after the result, and then there was some follow-up buying. I think today the gain was somewhere around 5%. Now it is out of the buy zone. So actually the setup was very good. It had formed a 1C consolidation base. So guys, ACE was the part of our pre-budget report as well as the post-budget report. जो हमारे top picks होते हैं budget के pre and post. This stock was got selected in both of them. And yes, we had came up with the pre-budget report somewhere on 27th around before that 30th June. So whenever iska level jab around 310-15 ka tha, at that time we had came out with the budget report, and from there the gain has been excellent from 315-20. You can see after the breakout, especially 345 ke baad, which was our ideal buy zone point, the pivot, the gain has been very good. Now it is a bit extended. So volume excellent hai, RS अच्छा है, but थोड़ा extended हो गया. Let it come to buy zone. If it comes to buy zone, then that will be a good time to look at Action Construction. But overall फंडामेंटल देखिए तो इसका मार्जिन इंप्रूवमेंट हुआ. इनके सारे सेगमेंट जो इनका क्रेन्स है, इनका बाकी के सारे सेगमेंट है, हर जगह पे काफी इंप्रूवमेंट हो रहा है. एंड दैट इज द थीम जो बजट का 2 साल से थीम चल रहा है कि इंफ्रा पे केपेक्स, वो थीम के लिए ये एक परफेक्ट कैंडिडेट है, Action Construction Equipment. So yes, it has the macro tailwinds, the results, the company has been able to deliver well, margin expand hua hai, profitability, revenue growth, the top line, bottom line, both is excellent, and technical setup super, no doubt about that. But yeah, little extended. So fresh buy के लिए maybe थोड़ा time देना पड़ेगा इसको, like it comes back to the zone. So the buy zone, the question is asked by Ganesh is asking the buy zone. See, Ganesh, if you can see the blue shaded part over here, यहाँ पे 0 to 5% from the pivot. So let's say here pivot is 355, okay, 354.70. So 0 to 5% from 354.70. That is the ideal buy zone. So till 372, 373, that's what the ideal buy zone is. Okay. Next, we can look at. No, so Ganesh again has a question that you mean when it crosses blue zone, then buy? No. In blue zone, you have to buy. Ideally, according to O'Neill methodology, ये जो green line है यहाँ पे आप देख रहे हैं, that is the pivot line. Okay, the high of the base. वहाँ पे जब reclaim होता है, वहाँ पे buy करना है. So for this ACE, it was 354.70 the pivot, right? So above 354.70 was a buy, and the ideal buy zone was blue zone, and that is till 372, right? So above it becomes a bit extended. No worries, Ganesh. Okay, let's go to the new question. So there's a question on Cummins as well. Yeah, if you look at Cummins India, Today it gave a fresh breakout. So एक exhaustion gap के साथ ये, sorry, not exhaustion, but yeah, gap up opening के साथ इसने breakout दिया. So overall it was a third stage base, a little bit higher, but the way the result it has delivered, the outperformance compared to what the estimate was, that has been really good. EPS is a little weak, but the recent quarter performances have been decent. Even look at the number of funds. The fund holding has improved significantly over here. So almost on the high base, there was some 15% increase in the number of fund holdings, the stock, and the result beat on all the front, that earning and revenue as well as the margin expansion was there. Ideally Q3 उनका seasonally strong quarter होता है, and so that they have delivered in the seasonally strong quarter as well. And it was near its 50 DMA, and after the gap up opening, now see, this is the stock is currently in the ideal buy zone. अगर आप इसका देखें तो ब्रेकआउट हुआ 1552, ठीक है, अभी 1577 is the price. So this is in the ideal buy zone because it is the closing is in the blue zone. So yeah, these kind of stocks need to be part of your watch list. Whenever the market turns above a specific level, especially 10-week moving average, at that time these stocks need to be on the part of your list. And look at the volume, I think super volume, 629% higher than the average. So अगर ये red line देखें तो ये average volume का line है, वहाँ से almost 630% का ज़्यादा volume है. So these breakouts are very strong, which are on a very high volume. Okay.
Yeah, Vakar, I'll take some queries now.
Okay.
Can you give the chart for TVS Motors? TVS.
Can you see it?
Yes, can see it now. So as you can see, what Rushit is pointing out, that the stock is making a stage 3 consolidation base. Can we look at the volumes? I mean, down. Yeah. So what probably I was trying to point out was like probably it's one of the better bases that is being formed. I mean, if you could look at the downtrend was on very low volumes. What Rushit is pointing out, but it still has some legs to do. It still has some work to do from here. If we talk about it to the pivot, it's still 11% to pivot. And if you look at the right hand side of the base, there's still some accumulation to be done. I mean, RS line is pointing higher. Your price strength is good at 76, but you need to see probably some big volume bars coming in on the right hand side of the base probably for the base to be successful. If we talk about it from the result perspective, result was good. And if you look at the last 3 results as well, last 3 to 4 results, it's been delivering good set of results. The ROE, it's 19% for FY22 is pretty good as well. And overall, you can see even at a huge base of 556 funds, you can see your fund holding increasing by 63.53%. And similarly, the share held by funds are also increasing. So overall, it's been doing good. So from the fundamental front, from the technical front, from the prior base, you can see a good uptrend as well. And post that uptrend, probably the stock is probably waiting, consolidating, and some profit booking is probably happening during the base. And if probably on the right hand side of the base, you can see some kind of accumulation happening, and there is still some time of 11% to pivot. So overall, let's see if the stock is able to break out from the pivot or not on above average volumes. And side by side, do we get a follow through day, or the markets move above the key levels such as your 10 WMA or the 50 DMA on above average volumes or not? Rushit, we'll look at Raymond's and then CDSL.
So very rare. I mean, we can see probably a stock forming a stage 5 consolidation, a stage 5 base when probably the market is not in a good shape. And I mean, as we always talked about, stage 4 or higher are the ones where I mean, there are higher chances of failure. I mean, uh, there are a number of stocks where we talk about stage 4 or higher, probably going down Tata Elxsi, your uh, then your green panel, Finolex, but sorry, not Finolex, Finiotex chemicals. But there are times where probably stocks can go higher, probably maybe like a base or two higher. But eventually, if we can see it does run out of steam. So probably let's keep the rules in check and look out for early stage breakouts, because markets will provide you early stage breakouts. It's just not to be get tempted with higher stage breakouts. If probably at this point in time, if one looks at it, just analyzing the current base at the moment, if if probably the base count gets reset, that is from 5 to 1, then that is some correction happens. And at that moment, I mean, at this moment, it looks like it can happen. Probably the RS line is going down. The stock is moving down, but I mean, it's not moving down on higher volume. So that is like one of the good signs. It's just that probably if this base counts gets reset, overall, all the other parameters are pretty much in place in terms of your fund holding, your price strength, your buyer demand, and that's it. The other we can look at it is CDSL. Okay, so Mr. Brajesh Soni just said that it's not looking at CDSL, it's CGSL. Means initially it was written as CDSL out. Okay, but Hitesh Shah is asking for CDSL. So first we'll talk about CDSL, then CGSL. So overall, if we talk about it, I mean, from a growth or a momentum perspective, not at all a good play at the moment. I mean, if we talk about from the off highs level, it's 37.61% off highs. Plus, the price trend is very poor at 18. Your moving averages are going downwards. Probably it's well below the 250 and 21 DMA as well. Even the 10 EMA, that is the shortest form of the moving average, is acting as a stiff resistance for the stock. So probably, I mean, it probably to come into the canceling perspective, it has to do a lot of catching up to do in terms of price trend, the buyer demand. Probably a new base has to form. The price trend has to improve. Your RS rating has to move higher, and probably at that point in time, you can overall the longer term story for the stock remains pretty much intact. But in terms of technical factors, there is a lot of deterioration at the moment. So till the point some key moving averages gets reclaimed or a new base gets formed, it's pretty much to avoid the stock. Rushit, you're taking some queries? Okay, I'll take the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Vakar, let's continue with Brajesh's query. Na? He had this query on.
Yeah, CGCL. Yeah, I'm taking.
So Capri, I mean, I'll just mention a couple of pointers here, Brajesh, since you asked my view for that. Capri Global, if you probably look at numbers, if you go to the financials, Vakar, or Rushit, whoever is managing the portal, right? So if you see, Brajesh, I think the EBIT is getting stuck in a range. So the absolute EBIT number, which has come for this quarter, is very much stuck in a range. So if you probably go back 6 to 8 quarters and start looking at the EBIT number, and then ultimately the kind of earnings growth that Capri Global is bringing to the table at this point of time, along with the return on equity. So I think it's pretty poor, if I may put it, in terms of expectations of around 9-10%. When others in this similar sphere are doing much more, especially mid-tier NBFCs. Second, if you look at the construct in terms of institution holding, there are 26 funds, but not a majority of mutual funds or insurance companies are holding, right? LIC is the largest holder at this point of time within the life insurance space, with almost a 10% holding out of 11% that they have. So two things. One is obviously that you are at the break-even point at this point of time, but you have to monitor the moving averages. We are very, very clear at this time that whatever is the closest moving average to KPI, that has to be your stop. Assumably, I think again it is 7% from pivot. If the momentum has to come through, you have to maintain those levels as well. So the nearest point, Vakar, is that the 21-day moving. Where is 21-day moving for KPI?
Yeah, it's very close to probably 2150 all. I mean, it's trading in a very narrow range.
So I think it is at the cusp of a lot of moving averages, Brajesh, very, very frankly, right? More or less, I think a majority of the moving averages are around these levels as well. The 200 is at 721, which is 4% away. So I think that can be a sacrosanct line for you, 721, which can be the 200-day moving average. And again, monitor these cluster of moving averages which is happening right around the price. Is there sufficient volume action which is suggesting that those averages are getting taken off? Then you don't even need to wait for the 200. You can probably then track the weekly for this one, where the averages should be close. But as I am seeing this at this point of time, the weekly comes out around the same level as the 200, which is the 40 weekly. So I think wait for those levels. Wait for the volumes. If there is some volume activity which is happening, heavy volumes, and the stock is correcting from the current price, you don't even need to wait for the 200. Can we move to the next stock that he asked for? I think he asked for one more story, right? One was Capri and the other was just a second. Jash Engineering. So Jash has a typical problem in terms of institution holders, Brajesh. I think we are very clear the number of institutions, minimum institutions that there should be there in the stock. It does not even satisfy that criteria at only. There are only 6 funds that are there at this point of time. Not tracking this company very, very closely. But if I just go to the checklist at this point of time, suffices a lot of requirements that is happening. They are into some sort of infrastructure activity. I'm not really sure where and how, what is the management quality, how has been the earnings profile and quality of earnings over the last few quarters. Again, a very small market cap company, just topping 1,000 odd crores. Similar, I think it's very, very close to its pivot. I think it's making a stage 2A consolidation with the pivot at 765. So similarly to what we spoke for Capri, right? You can actually have a very tight stop since you're at a break even at 845, which is the 10 weekly. Look at volumes. Last week's volumes were significantly high. Daily volume right now were significantly lower. So have that cluster monitored 828, which is the 100-day moving average, till almost 845 odd. If it reaches that, that becomes your stop for the trade. And obviously, I think if it goes through from the pivot, the momentum can sustain. So I think it's either or in terms of the risk.
Okay, so there's one query on Devyani. It just reported its numbers today during the market hours. If you look at the numbers, the growth was decent, some 15 to 18% growth in the profit. The margin was somewhere around 21, 22%. And overall, I think the revenue growth was good. And the number of stores opening was somewhere around 81. So in Q3, Devyani has opened 81 stores. And now their operational is somewhere around 11 to 1200 stores they are operating. So overall a good growth story. If you look at the chart formations, so there was a strong rally, I think, just after the IPO. It consolidated a bit somewhere in the October, November in the 2021. And then in the first half of the I think the December 21, it gave a strong rally. And since then it has been consolidating, making a base. यहाँ पे एक बार high बनाया था फिर से August में. But since then, after making that high in the August 2022, it has been moving lower. But overall, if you see the consolidation, it was trading sideways. 200 DMA breach नहीं हो रहा था, but recently it has moved below 200 DMA. Numbers decent है, but अगर आप overall technical ratings, if you see, the RS rating is very poor, 31. There is no major buyer demand over here. So give it some time. Even the 50 DMA has crossed below the 200 DMA, the red line, if you can see over here. Right. So let it give some time, maybe 1 quarter more or some technical improvements. If we see that key moving averages are been moved higher from here and the volume is higher, specifically see अगर अभी 160 के around stock price है, if it reclaims its key moving averages around 190 के level का जो भी इनका 180 के around moving averages है, and the volume is higher when the reclaim in moving averages is, then you can definitely add this to your watch list, because on a higher volume the reclaiming of 50 DMA will ultimately improve its buyer demand. So buyer demand जब बढ़ेगा और फिर यहाँ पे जब एक base formation होगा, and once it break out from that base, that's a good idea. In case if you are still holding, you can use a proper risk management. Maybe 7-8% from the buy point is the ideal profit loss cutting zone. And but if you have entered at a higher zone, then you can keep 21 DMA, 10 EMA, or even the recent low as the stop loss. And I think stop loss risk management is very important in the market, and you need to do that.
Very valid point, Rushit. So I think, guys, what Rushit was explaining is very, very important, right? I mean, similarly to the cases we were just explaining, having your risk management tools is extremely important because the markets can be very, very choppy. Right now, as I see it, European markets are on full swing. DAX, CAC is all up 1.5%. FTSE is up almost 0.75% as well. But just to explain the points in terms of USI, I think burgers have done well than pizzas. So if you look at Westlife, which is the McDonald's part, their same sales store growth was 20% year on year. Devyani, which does KFC, has the same sales store growth of 27% year on year, 6% quarter on quarter. They've opened reasonable amount of stores. Their average sale per store has been reasonable. Their gross and EBITDA margins have also stayed pretty well. If you look at the pizza players, including Jubilant, you look at Pizza Hut, Specialty Brands, Asia, there has been pain in terms of like-to-like sales growth. And somewhere there has been stickiness. So I'm not really sure within the entire QSR space, and everybody struggling to get into tier 2, tier 3 cities by opening up more stores with expectations of spending going up. Burgers have relatively done better than pizzas at this point of time.
Sure. So once you eat those pizza, burger, fast food, let's move to a hospital. So there is a question on Narayana Hrudayalaya. Yeah. Ultimately, someday you need to go there if you are not fit. So the result came yesterday. I think, I'm not sure, but yeah, I was looking at the presentation today itself. So overall, the growth was good. If you look at the operating revenues on a YOY basis, some 16-17% growth, and for 9-month comparison, it's around 20% of growth in the revenue. Even the margins have improved. जो इनका average revenue per patient है, in Q3 FY22 that was 109.10. Now it has increased to 116.17. And even if you look at the patient's footfall, so from 520, it has increased to 581. Okay. So all the parameters have been good. So average revenue per patient, even the ICU occupied bed days, that has also increased slightly compared to the same quarter in the last year. And their expansion plan is on track, especially their EBITDA margin, which was expected to improve this time. It was not out of expectation, but yes, it was expected कि ये improve होगा, and that has improved. जो Q3 22 में 14% था EBITDA margin, that has now increased to 19.1%. And they have the capex plan in place for the next coming year. They are trying to get more hospitals, more number of bed, and so the overall scenario remains good, but no major tailwind or no surprises on the positive side. And that's why here also it is stuck in a range. So I think today in the last half an hour we saw many stocks, the Capri Global, the other one infra related, they are stuck in a range. Look at the 2150, 200 sub baju mein. Even the 21 and 200 are very close over here. Stock is not able to reclaim its 50 DMA. So the red line, if you can see over here, so that's the 50 DMA, and we are not able to move above that. So once the 50 DMA is reclaimed, I think the focus will be on the stage 3, and the pivot over here is the 820. So एक बार ये 560-70 का level cross हो जाता है 50 DMA का high volume पे, then the next focus will be on the flat base breakout that is at 820. So need to give some time. अभी जो market scenario है, that's what we started with. Don't be aggressive at this point of time because buy switch and aggression is very close now. I think 8,100, 18,000, 18,100 वो level काफी नजदीक है. So let Nifty move above that level. Let the broader market show some positive sign. और वहां भी जो भी स्टॉक की मूविंग एवरेज के ऊपर आते हैं, जो ब्रेकआउट करते हैं, जिनका RF रेटिंग हाई है, वहां पे हम फोकस करेंगे. सो ओवर हियर एज फार एज द NH is concerned, fresh buy, it needs some time to improve. And if you are holding the stock, then I think the again 200 DMA 720, also the base low जो flat का low है वो भी वहीं पे है. So need to be very active around that zone to move out of that stock according to O'Neill.
Rushid,
Yes.
workers हो गए, you have taken it to the hospital, take it to a pharmaceutical stock for some medicines now. Take Syngene.
Which one?
Syngene. I think some patrons have asked for Syngene. Have you covered Syngene?
No.
Yeah. So Anupam Sharma has asked about Syngene, and somebody else also has asked.
Okay. So over here, if you can.
Syngene.
Rishit, there's some disturbance. We can't hear you. Rishit, you there?
Vakar, you can start your screen sharing. I think there is some issue. There might be some issue.
Fine. Yeah.
And we can take Syngene.
Yeah. Going ahead.
Sorry, suddenly I dropped out of meeting because some internet issue.
No problem. Yeah.
So I will continue with this. Okay. So yeah, what I was discussing about that the stock is still below its key moving averages, and the pattern is actually too wide and loose. And this is a classic example to understand the strength of the patterns. So so Mayuresh discuss about this is as posted about the CanSlim webinar. So there you will get all this information about how to identify these bases, especially the strength. ये basic है, cup with handle, double bottom, flat base, easy to identify. But वो base में भी अच्छा कौन सा है वो समझना important. This is too wide and loose, so it needs a lot of time to do the technical repair. Damage जो हुआ है वहाँ पे repair होने में time लगेगा. Let it reclaim the key moving averages. And I think then a fresh base formation or maybe a base on base formation, and that's where you need to how you go. But if you are already holding the stock, then I think the levels of around 530 to 550 is giving a good support. So if the stock loses that support zone, then I think you need to be very careful, or you can have a fixed stop loss if the buy was very early. What are you taking?
Yeah. So someone's Mr. Atul Bhagat is asking about Gravita. We'll discuss Gravita now. So probably if someone's already invested in Gravita, would be sitting at a decent amount of profits at the moment, and probably when the stock is nearly 27% from the pivot, it's not an ideal time probably to get an entry into the stock. What's good is that this green line, that is the 21 DMA, it's acting as a good support for the stock. Overall, if you look at the EPS trend, the price rating, the buyer demand, even the technical setup, like initially a cup with handle base, then a flat base, and a power to pivot of 21%, then retracted, came to the 21 DMA, found support at 21 DMA multiple times. Even in the weaker market, it's probably moving higher by around 27, 28%. So a very good sign. Overall, the last three results also have been very good for the company. Decent sized market cap of around 3,300, 3,400 crores, with number of funds going higher. Even your share held by funds is improving. Return of equity is pretty good at 19. And probably if anyone's like if Mr. Atul is holding into the stock or anyone else is holding on to the stock, I mean, this 21 DMA line has pretty much acted as a good support for the stock. Even if someone has a little bit higher risk appetite, if I go through, then probably 50 DMA is the one where one should look at it. If not, 21 DMA. The other, I mean, just scrolling through. Have we discussed Siemens, Rushit?
No, Cummins is discussed, so we can discuss Siemens or JK Cement.
Okay, fine. Siemens and then JK Cement. Fine, we'll do that. So again, when we're talking about the infra push, I mean, again, this budget reiterates that push about the growing infrastructure in terms of not just the lens, but in terms of the quality of the infrastructure as well, the last mile connectivity, what the FM was talking about. And similarly, you can see the stock probably moving higher from that point in time. One of the key monitorables for the stock is that this result is due in 5 days, and one should have a clean look at the stock. I mean, the stock is forming an early stage base, that is a stage 2 flat base. It's kind of formed a reversal candle near the pivot, but I mean, the volatility in the stock will be there as the stock is approaching its result day. So around the result, maybe like around 4 to 5 days prior to the result, we do say that like stay away from the stocks. Why? Because uh, the results are pretty much unpredictable, and probably if gone against you, can easily hit your stop losses, breach some key moving averages. So let's wait in terms of the result for the stock. Let's monitor the result for the stock in terms of the numbers, in terms of the estimates, in terms of the management commentary from the stock. Overall, if it took it from the William O'Neill perspective in terms of buyer demand is very good at A. Your RS line, RS rating at 73 is fair, but your RS line is moving higher. The blue dot is formed. That is, the RS line is hitting new highs. Your number of fund holding is also slightly improving. Last couple of quarter results was also good. With the infra push around the corner, probably if the stock delivers a good result or a beat on the estimates, you can probably see breakout happening, probably on above average volumes going forward. The other, we're talking about JK Cement. We'll discuss JK Cement. So not an ideal setup, what we are talking at the moment, no base being formed. I mean, the only good thing is that the stock has reclaimed its 21 DMA post. Before that, it did reclaim its 200 DMA as well. But if you look at it from the off-high perspective, I mean, when talking about stocks from the momentum or the only perspective for any growth stock, I mean, we look at off-highs of less than 15%. So maybe going forward, if the stock forms a base and it reclaims its 50 DMA and the 100 DMA going forward, and maybe with the price strength also improving, probably at that moment in time, the stock can be washed out. But at this moment, when no bases are being formed, stock trading below some key moving averages, a no-no from us at the moment for this stock.
So I'll take a couple of questions. So Sagar has a question that how many follow-through days change the status from rally attempt to uptrend? So yeah, only one follow-through day is enough. So the first follow-through day, whenever it comes, that is 1.5% gain on a volume higher than previous session. So that's when we consider it as a follow-through day, and the market status is shifted to a confirmed uptrend. And yes, to consider follow-through day, there's no moving average limit and all कि हाँ इसके नीचे आया follow-through day, ये सब नहीं होता. Follow-through day is a follow-through day if two conditions are satisfied. Ideally three. One, we should be in a rally attempt. Second, the gain should be more than 1.5%. And third, the volume should be higher than previous sessions. Yes, if you get a more follow-through day after that, so that what has happened in Nasdaq this time, sort of follow-through actions was there. So we mark them as an additional follow-through day. So additional follow-through day always adds a strength in the market, and that is very good for a sustainable rally. Okay, so next, there is one question. Okay, so Brajesh is asking, after results, most of the stocks are falling. So what should be the strategy? See, ideally, before the results, right, according to Onion methodology, you should stop trading a stock at least 7-8 days before the result, because you never know what are the real estimates of the result, which big fund or which big institute, which HNI is looking for what results, and what are the margins, what are the outlook. You never know, right? So you should avoid the stock just before the result. The second thing, the result comes. If the result is poor, there's no point, by trading it. But if the result is good, then 2-3 things you need to look for. First is the technical setup. कई बार क्या होता है, overhead supply ज़्यादा हो जाता है. If the stock is down 20-30% from its all-time high, तो जब भी एक अच्छा result आएगा, एक अच्छा move आएगा, तो people will try to exit that stock. So sometimes the overhead supply. So we have a lot of learning articles. So you can just type overhead supply and MarketSmith India in Google, and you can get the learning article. So that could be the one reason. The second is the result might not be up to the expectation. The third is the technical setup is weak. 50 or 200 DMA के नीचे है stock, या फिर supply zone के पास है stock. But sometimes it is not like that. So today जैसे कि हमने आज देखा Cummins का अच्छा result आया. So that was a gap up opening. The gap was sustained 6-7% ऊपर बंद हुआ. ठीक है. So that is not always the case that अच्छे result के बाद stock की पिटाई होती है. But हाँ, market भी एक situation है. If the market is not that great, so if the Nifty is facing resistance near 21 DMA, is falling from there, and even the best of the stock might get hammered in those kind of situations. So Sonata Software, yes, Atul is asking about what is the right time to enter the Sonata Software. So if you can see the setup over here, it has already broken out from a cup base formation, and it's a stage 3 cup. So even if you see the off lows, the stock is just 42%. बहुत time से ये sideways movement. Vakar, can you give a weekly chart that will give a better idea?
Yeah, Rashid.
So yes, if you can see on the weekly chart, the base is not reset because the last base था इसका, जो एक flat base बना था, वो काफी दूर था. I think that was 1.5 years back. That level has yet not came. I think that was a very strong third base over here on the weekly chart. So वो अभी भी टूटा नहीं है. So this is the higher stage base. So fourth stage generally try to avoid. I think this time the results were decent. The EPS growth was good. The sales growth was almost 25%. The number of fund almost flattish. Also the shares held by fund was almost flat. The buyer demand is decent and price strength of 75 with blue dot. So blue dot indicates that the price strength is at a 52-week high, which is very positive. So if we look at the daily chart, it is just extended from its buy zone. So two things over here. Firstly, थोड़ा नीचे pullback आता है the 21 DMA के around या फिर ideal buy zone में, and plus the market reclaims the key moving averages and the buy switch is on. So these two conditions if met, then you can definitely look at these stocks. Okay, the next question.
Rashid, you can take some last couple of queries. We are almost reaching our deadline.
Sure. So last two queries. So one Kush is asking that the elephant in the room, Adani Enterprise, So if I would have asked William O'Neill this time, and probably his answer might be that the room isn't too big for O'Neill and Adani to sit together. And so yes, I think ideally, this whenever the stock is below its key moving averages, it is falling. We never try to catch the falling knife. If the issues, whatever it be, settles down, if the growth is good, if earnings return, technical setup फिर से set होता है, then we will be open for it. But at presently, I think the room is small to fit O'Neill methodology as well as the stock both. So yeah, you can see over here, we would be out at 50 DMA only. एक तो stage भी high था base formation का, plus it moved sideways after the breakout, and December में ही इसने 50 DMA breach कर दिया, and then you can see it attempted I think 6-7 sessions back to back, but 50 DMA reclaim नहीं हुआ, और वहां से जब fall हुआ, ठीक है, and then it अच्छा खासा fall हुआ, और फिर जब 200 DMA breach हो गया, then that was the last warning to get out of that stock. So yeah, that's the case. There is some tendency, there is always a tendency, that's emotions that comes कि हाँ ऐसे stock में पकड़ना है, but I really try to avoid. Okay, so last two queries. The first one, Britannia, and the second, Dr. Reddy. Okay.
Britannia and Dr. Reddy. Okay.
If anything else, you can email us, because yeah, we are running out of time. So yeah, Britannia is trading in its ideal buy zone. The breakout was from stage 1B base. So I like these bases, 1B especially, because फर्स्ट बेस में जो ब्रेकआउट हुआ उसके बाद स्टॉक ने एक अच्छा 10-15% का मूव दिया, ठीक है, उसके बाद वो फिर से जब मार्केट चॉपी था तब वो बेस बनाया, एंड लुक एट वन थिंग, दिस बेस वो 21 और 50 DMA को तोड़ा नहीं, द ग्रीन एंड रेड लाइन, नाउ इट हैज कन्वर्ज, दे आर बोथ एट द same, but yeah, it has not broken that level during the base formation, even when the market was volatile, the market was weak. So that's something very positive about the stock. It's in the ideal buy zone, yeah, and can be the part of your watch list. And overall, the results were also decent. Like December, the EPS growth was more than 100%. The sales, the volume growth भी अच्छा था. Britannia का demand pickup हुआ है, I think, सारे segments में. So there's not two way about that thing. Plus जो raw material cost था ये FMCG companies के लिए, it was way high last year. But I think अभी लास्ट एक क्वार्टर में वो रॉ मटेरियल कॉस्ट भी थोड़ा नीचे की साइड आ रहा है, and will help to improve the margins. The last for the day, Dr. Reddy. Okay, so yeah, it is forming a base on base pattern. So it had formed a cup with handle pattern, that was stage 1. Now प्रोग्रेस नहीं हुआ, वहां से ब्रेकआउट हुआ था, 3-4% बढ़ा, उसके बाद फिर से एक फ्लैट बेस बना रहा है, एंड नो मेजर मूवमेंट यहाँ पे, एक रेंज बाउंड सा हो गया है 4200 टू 4400 44500 के वो जोन में, 200-300 पॉइंट में. ओवरऑल इफ यू सी द नंबर ऑफ फंड होल्डिंग इज गुड. इस बार ईपीएस ग्रोथ नहीं हुआ, sales growth was decent, and if you see, it is trying to approach the pivot, so it is 3% below the pivot. So two things to look over here. एक तो थोड़ा price trend 56 का है, वो upward trending है, but you need to improve it. Let it trend upward and the ratings if improve होता है, and buyer demand जो B है वहां पे भी अगर we can see improvement B+A, and if you see huge candles on a high volume, so अगर यहाँ से gain होता है, breakout होता है high volume पे, then the ideal buy zone for the stock starts from the 46-45, that is the pivot. जो green dotted line है वो level है 4645. Above that level, it's a ideal buy zone. Okay, so thank you very much, guys, for joining the Stock Durbar session. I hope you got some important information and it was helpful to you. So thank you for joining the session. We'll be regularly come with the updates. So you can also join tomorrow at 8:45 a.m. in the morning. We'll be live tomorrow with our pre-bell. So every day at 8:45 we are live on pre-bell. We discuss about the global markets, the Indian market setup, and what to look for during the day. So you can join us tomorrow morning. So okay, that's it for the sessions. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining.